With the new Digimon Adventure series coming back with a bang, you could bet your life on it that Toei and the writers behind the scenes were planning to do a few callbacks and a few little hidden gems and Easter eggs hidden within this episode. Just a little nod to the audience. So here are some of the Easter eggs and references you may have missed during this episode. Let's start off with the opening. The very first thing we see is a white feather. Could this feather be Anjuman's feather or Anjuwoman's feather? We know they eventually would have to make their debut in the series at some point. Could they be saving Anjuman's grand entrance as a special moment, just like in the original when he killed Devimon? We'll just have to wait and see. The original opening of the Digimon Adventure series had Tai famously transported in that funny falling motion into the digital world. That same motion that was done back then is being displayed again here in this opening, but it was only him this time that did it. In the original, it was all the Digidestined that had that same falling down motion. I guess because Tai was the first one to come in contact with his Digimon, and the first ever episode of the Digimon Adventure 2020 reboot was heavily centered around Tai, it makes sense that it's him going to the digital world in that fashion in the opening. Whilst in the first episode of the original Digimon Adventure, you literally had all the characters going into the digital world together, so I guess it makes sense in that regard. At the end of the opening, for a split second we see Omnimon. Omnimon's first appearance was in the Digimon movie, Our War Game, so guys, be prepared for a lot of Our War Game and other Digimon movie references throughout the episode. We are now in the year 2020, the age of smartphone and the internet. And speaking of smartphones, have you guys noticed the color of Tai's smartphone? It's the color orange, the same exact color as the Crest of Courage. Coincidence? I don't think so. Whilst using his orange phone, Tai was ticking off his checklist of things that he needs for camp, but the one thing he forgot was his gloves. In the original Digimon Adventure, Tai is always wearing gloves, so I think the writers were just poking a little fun at that fact. Speaking of camping, both Tai and Izzy are preparing to go camping, which is a callback to the original season when all the Digidestined were camping until a big tidal wave portal transported them into the digital world. The phones themselves are an Easter egg to us in real life, as the characters are using smartphones to mirror the modern times of us using smartphones in the real world. But in this episode, you had the characters really use these devices almost all the time. Izzy was constantly on his laptop whilst Tai was using his phone for half the episode. But when you go back to the first episode of the original Digimon Adventure, Izzy was trying to connect his laptop to the internet using an infrared internet connection. Look how 90s that is. I think the writers really wanted to highlight the difference in time between the two eras of which both of these two seasons came out in. Highlighted with Masaka Nazao in the introduction talking about the internet and how it connects us. Whilst in the original you had infrared connection. Tough times, man, back in those days. Tough times to connect to the internet back in the day. Speaking of Izzy's laptop, it's still the same color and the same brand as like in the original series. However, one little thing I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed as well. When Izzy turned on the laptop, Tachikawa, the branded name of the laptop, came on screen. That is Mimi's second name and it seems like it's her family business. Maybe this is a way of connecting both Mimi and Izzy together. In Try, Mimi and Izzy had something going on, so that could be a potential foreshadowing of things to come. Imagine the reaction Izzy would give if he finds out that Mimi's family owns a big technology franchise. He would go nuts! Even in the opening, TK's hat also had that Tachikawa logo on it, so clearly Mimi and her family are doing well for themselves, clearly. I can't remember what Mimi's dad used to do in the original Digimon series, so let me know in the comment section down below guys if you guys can remember what he used to do in the original season. When Tai got transported, he was going through a portal very similar to in Our War Game, when the partner Digimon were getting transported to fight Diamoroman in the internet realm. It seems like the show is staying true to the character's roots. When Koromon digivolved into Agumon and that big flash of light came on screen, we saw a few characters. We saw Jo at school studying, Soro looks like she's with her mum, and Mimi is trying on a dress that looks almost exactly like the dress in the original series. So it's good for us fans that the writers understand what makes each character stand out from one another. During the flash of light, we see TK in his room. In his room, we see a picture of an astronaut. A little nod to the infamous epilogue of Adventure 02. But if you guys look closer on the right hand side of TK's room, we see a poster of a warrior in full white. And I could be seeing things, but it looks like he's holding a golden staff, which is a reference to Anjuman. Guys, what do you think? Do you think they're planning something big with TK and Anjuman for this new series? Let me know your ideas of what you think they would be doing with TK's character. Like I said earlier, there were various callbacks to Our War Game. The enemy Digimon who goes by the name of Algomon, shout out to Alan Tang for telling me this Digimon's name in the comments, thanks for that mate. But yes, Algomon had multiple clones of himself, just like Diaboromon when he was multiplying himself in our war game. And just like how Omnimon unleashed his cannon fire, you can see the numbers of Diaboromon decreasing in that little Pokedex-like feature in Izzy's laptop. You can see it here in this episode when Algomon was eliminating the clones with his baby flame attack. I briefly mentioned on my review the parallels between Greymon and the Algomon fight in this episode versus Greymon and the Parrotmon fight in the movie. When Algomon first digivolved into Greymon in the movie against Parrotmon, he used both of his arms and grabbed both of Parrotmon's arms in a struggle that you see in most wrestling matches. Same thing happened in this episode. When Greymon first appears, he grabs both of Algomon's arms and stops him in his tracks. When Tai calls Greymon in both the movie and in this episode, we see the zoomed in camera angle of Greymon's eye whilst Greymon's face is to the side. In the movie, his face was facing left to right, whilst in the episode he was facing right to left. The finishing blow in both fights between Greymon and Parrotmon and Greymon and Algomon in this episode ended with the epic flame coming from Greymon's soul. And again, the camera angles are reversed with Greymon if you compare both their attacks. And even the way both Parrotmon and Algomon disintegrate, it's almost exactly the same. Look at both clips and tell me that it's not similar. The episode ends with Izzy telling Tai the American military are under cyber attack, meaning potentially dangerous world-ending weapons can be released, like missiles, just like in our war game. And guess what the title for the next episode is, guys? War game. Yes. That is the title for the next episode. So the writers really did outdid themselves with the references and Easter eggs. Since it's the first episode of the reboot series, I'm not that surprised. With all these references, it felt like, for me anyway, this was a celebration of Digimon and the Adventure series. So I loved all these little gems. Anyway guys, let me know if I missed any references in this episode. Comment down below if I missed any. So please take care of yourselves and care for nothing.